Yeah, we're gonna get started in here. We're gonna get started. But I wanna start off by giving all praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. I also want to give honor to the elders, to the prophets that came before us, pushing this truth and this message to the four corners of the earth. And also I want to give thanks to the Aquas and Aquan, listening and learning. And also, this is a part two of the scattered lost tribes. So we're just gonna go into depth about each tribe and just break down a couple of scriptures just to let you know how the Most High knows who His people are. And then also to follow up with this, I have a detailed PowerPoint that goes into further details about this. So, but we're just gonna give you a little brief breakdown about each tribe. So I'm gonna start off with the tribe of Judah, which today would be the so-called African American, the so-called Negro.
They said you muffled.
Hold on. How about now?
I mean, I can hear you straight.
Yeah, all right. So I'm gonna start off with the tribe of Judah. The tribe of Judah is basically comprised of the African American Negro, which can also be found in Brazil, West Africa, Europe, and also scattered all around the world. This Judah is also, in fact, the head tribe, which is the leader of Israel. If you can find this in Hebrews 7:14, where it is evident that the Lord shall spring out of Judah, of which the tribe of Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. So the priesthood, so what that's describing is just like what we said earlier, King David and Yahushua sprung out of the tribe of Judah, which this is the head tribe where the king and Yahushua, our Savior, comes out of. So that's just like when you see the brothers on the street who started in this truth. The first people you see in this truth, pushing this truth in the forefront of this is Judah. And so Judah is the one who starts the movement and who gets people going. So anytime somebody is, disrespecting the tribe or going against the tribe, Judah's the first person to speak up and say something about this. He's the head, and then the rest will follow. And that's why you see the other tribes like Issachar and such on following behind Judah, because he's the head. He sets the tone. And I want to jump down to Acts 2:29. And me, my brethren, let me preach freely unto you, the patriarch of David. He is both dead and buried, but his sepulchre is with us unto this day. Therefore, being a prophet, knowing that God has sworn with an oath to him, that the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he would rise up Christ and sit on his throne. So again, that's letting you know that through the seed of Judah, through the seed of King David, that Yahushua will be born. So that's how you know that Judah is the head tribe, because Yahushua is the one who leads us all. He's the King of Kings. And also I want to jump down to Deuteronomy 33:7. And this is a blessing of Judah. He said, hear the Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him unto his people. Let his hands be sufficient for him, and be thou to help him from his enemies. And so this is letting you know that, like I said earlier, that his hands be sufficient. This is letting you know that Judah is the top tribe when it comes to starting a revolt. Just like in the 60s and in the 1800s, the slave revolt, Judah was the one who was sparking this, having the scheme behind this. He was the leader behind it, because he's the head tribe. When he sees something wrong, he's going to be the one to speak up. And then that spirit percolates through the whole tribe. And I want to jump down to Psalms 110:4. The Lord has sworn and not repent. Thou art a priest forever, and at the order of Melchizedek. Salakia. Zechariah 6:13. Even he shall build a temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory, and he shall sit and rule upon his throne. And he shall be the priest upon his throne, and he shall be the counsel and the peace between both of them. Hebrews 7:1. For he is Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met with Abraham returning from the slaughter of his kings and blessed him. So for a lot of people that don't know, Melchizedek is Salakia, is a king. He was a king. He was from the tribe of Judah. He was held to a high regard because he was a leader. And this is just touching on the tribe of Judah, which is compromised majority. And another thing I want to touch on about the tribe of Judah is that they made up the Byzantine Empire, which is the European empire that you see today. When you see King James, King George, all these people that you hear about, they were also so-called Judah, because Judah also ruled Europe. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about, or they might not touch on a lot about. But I have a PowerPoint that will go into depth with that too. But I'll let you touch on Benjamin.
All right, but to add to sum up basically what you were saying, Genesis 49:10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. So basically, Judah is the lawgiver. That's what he's saying. Judah is the head tribe. Benjamin is the so-called Jamaican and the West Indies, and I'm gonna jump back into Genesis and read verse 27. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. So basically, he's like a wolf. He's like a hunter and things like that. So, Paris, I'm gonna let you read the information about that one.
Yeah. So basically, like, what a lot of people got to understand is Benjamin, Judah, and Levi were basically compromised of the southern kingdom, and a lot of times that they were all together in unison and in high numbers. So anytime you speak of Judah, anytime you speak of the tribe of Levi and Benjamin, and I speak of Judah being in Europe, Levi was there, Benjamin was there too. So this is just understanding that wherever Judah went, that's where Benjamin and Levi went, so they were part of the southern kingdoms too. And just like he was saying, they were a ravening spirit, which meant that they were not to be messed with. They were a great warrior. So when they went with Judah, basically they were the mighty men. So anytime they wanted to conquer a new land or take over somewhere, they were the mighty men who put forth the brunt of effort. When you talk about your Vikings or your knights, these are Benjamin.
What's that, Levi?
Yes, Levi. Talk about the priesthood.
So, the Levites are the Levitical priests. You know where Moses and Aaron and such come from. Those are the Haitians and the Trinidadians. Numbers 18:2-4. Thy brethren also of the tribe of Levi, the tribe of thy father, bring thou with thee that they may be joined unto thee and minister unto thee. But thou and thy sons with thee shall minister before the tabernacles. So basically, to tie it back to Melchizedek, basically the Bible was written by the order of Melchizedek to Aaron and Moses. So Aaron and Moses is like, Melchizedek is a higher priesthood compared to Moses and Aaron, which is like the lower priesthood. I'm not trying to confuse people on that one. Like, I don't want to dive too much into like the celestial point of that one. But yeah, so the Bible was written to the lower priesthood of Aaron and Moses, and also it's just like with tithing. Tithing was basically to basically watch over the Levitical priests, because the Levitical priests didn't receive any land or anything, so you really don't have to tithe. I mean, you can give on your own, but he made tithing like that, like basically of corn. I mean, of your crops and whatever, fruit of your labor, because you were basically just looking out for your brother. So the Levitical priests didn't receive any inheritance; they were inherited by the Most High. So yeah, that's how it ties into tithing with that one too. So you don't really have to tithe. You only tithe unless you know a Levitical priest, which you probably don't. So that's what the whole basis of tithing is for.
Exactly. Just like he's saying, like, they would give them a place to stay or just some food. Just they needed help, because they were basically nomadic, man. They traveled a lot.
What about Elijah? I mean, what are you trying to figure out? Like Elijah, I mean, they were all prophets. Like all the prophets were basically on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Like to basically to sum it up for you, bro, all the prophets are basically the same entities, if that makes sense. So basically, just like how it repeats in like Daniel and Jeremiah and Ezekiel, they're all the same entity. So you're gonna get the same. The Most High repeated himself to the same, basically to the same entities. So Elijah was a higher celestial level, just like as Moses. You know what I'm saying? That's why he tells you to follow the law of Moses, because the law of Moses is what's going to set you up to be God-like. You know, that's how you receive the Holy Spirit and the Ruach, to receive like your God-like power. So you got to follow the law of Moses, which, you know, Moses, which he got the law and all those things from Melchizedek. So Elijah, I mean, they're basically, they're not the same person, they're the same entity, if that makes sense. So they were
Mm-hmm.
all powerful on the same level. That's the easiest way I can explain it to you. Yeah, but you continue.
Oh, it's you. You talking about the priesthood? You Numbers.
I read it.
You ready? Yeah, you and Levi talking about
Oh,
Numbers and
3.
then Deuteronomy.
Yeah, so 3, and they shall keep thy charge and the charge of all the tabernacle, only they shall not come nigh the vessels of the sanctuary and the altar, that neither they nor ye also die. And they shall be joined unto thee, and keep the charge of the tabernacle of the congregation for all the service of the tabernacle, and a stranger shall not come nigh unto you. So they were in charge of like anything holy. Anything holy, you had to come to the priest. Like if you wanted to give a sacrifice, you couldn't even touch the Ark of the Covenant because you had to be sanctified to touch it, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'll explain why people died. Basically, people died when they touched the Ark of the Covenant because they weren't holy, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, because they weren't a part of that certain bloodline. I'm trying to put it in a way well, I'm not trying
Yeah,
to,
that's simple. Yeah, make it
yeah,
simplified.
understand the priest gene. Yeah. So the Levitical priests were more powerful than you really know, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They were cut from a different cloth on a different level. They were basically like the just like the elect are like the angels on earth. You
Mm-hmm.
have different levels of angels, and the
And
priests were like up there type of angels just on earth.
exactly, and just to give a good example of that, when the priests started to fall off and they went to the left hand side, they started tapping to the left hand side. And this is just to let you know, this to let you know how powerful their spirit is. But this on the left hand side, they started to tap into voodoo, and this is where you hear about the Haitians and whatnot. They tapped into that voodoo or that Roman Catholic side, which was the left hand side. And this is just to give you a tap into. This is to give you let you know that even though they weren't going on the right side, they still had that. They still had that. They still had that that favor of the Most High, because they fought off a lot of the enemies using the left hand side. Even though the Most High told them not to use voodoo and to follow the entity behind the Roman Catholic Church. But that just lets you know how powerful these people are spiritually, and that's what Darian is talking about.
All right, to jump to Deuteronomy,
Yeah,
uh,
19:9.
yeah, 19. I'm gonna read one of them. That way we can stay on track and stuff like that.
Okay.
So Deuteronomy 19, was it 9 through 11?
Mhm.
All right. If thou shalt keep all these commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love thy the Lord thy power, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 cities more for thee beside these 3. The innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which Yahweh thy power give thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But if any man hate his neighbor and lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally, then he die and fleeth into one of these cities. What did that have to do with? I'm not understanding what they had to do with the Haitians and such.
That was talking about the commandments of the priesthood.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I put it. Yeah,
Levi talking
I
about the
basically,
commandments
I
of the
basically,
priesthood.
I basically explained it to them to basically help them understand,
Hmm.
priesthood and things like that. So
Yeah. So you're good. We'll move on to the next part because unless
go
you
ahead.
want to tap into something else with the priesthood, we'll move on to the next trial.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So another thing I want to piggyback off of that is another thing that we'll talk about at the end is that the Most High at the end he will start lifting up the curses from the tribes, and will that envy or that hate that we have against each other, because Simeon and Levi, they were brothers, and right now they're both border side by each other. Dominican Republic and Haiti, they're border right beside each other. But if you ever visit over there, you ever travel over there, they hate each other. But they don't realize they're brethren, they're kinsmen, they're from the same flesh, from the same bloodline. So the Most High is going to start revealing these secrets and these truths and start to lift up that hate from these people because we're all the same people and we don't really realize this. And so all that hate and that envy that we have amongst each other, it will start to be lifted. And so next I want to talk about the tribe of Simeon, which is the so-called Dominican Republic. And the so-called tribe of Simeon, they were also known as great warriors. And they would, create cruel instruments. They would have like weapons, bow and arrows, knives. Because you gotta understand, Simeon was one of the first tribes that were attacked. So 1492, that was when it really started. And then another side note, just like we piggyback off of the other videos, that Simeon spent a lot of time with the southern tribe with Judah and Levi. So that's why Simeon shares a lot of characteristics. The main public, they share a lot of characteristics of so-called Judah, so-called black people or Negro. So they spend a lot of time intermingling and mixing with those tribes. And I just want to touch on a couple of verses to give you a little background information on them. Second Kings, and I just want to talk about Second Kings 17 and 17. This is talk about how they went astray. And as it caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire and use deviation of enchantment and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord and provoke them to anger. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. Therefore none of them was left behind but the tribe of Judah only. And basically, I'm not going to read all this. You can read 7 through 41, but this is just piggybacking off of what he said with the tribe of Levi. This is when they started to deal with voodoo and started to tap into the Roman Catholic Church. This is why you see a lot of Hispanics or that culture really cleave on to that Roman Catholic entity because that was impressed upon them from a very long time. So that's what that word enchantment and devil is coming from, and do evil in the sight of the Lord. This is when they had the mark, the sign of the beast, or Cesare Borgia, and they started trying to push it on their brethren. And then also, I just want to this is another portion I want to tap on. I might have talked about in the first video, and this is 2 Ezra 13 and 39, but I just want to read it again, 39 through 47. And whereas the Saul that they gathered another peaceful multitude unto him, but of the 10 tribes that were carried away to the prisons of their own land in the time of Osea the king, who was Salmanezar, the king of Assyria, who led them away captive, and he carried them over the waters, so they came in another land. This another land is something that's far away. For they took this counsel among themselves. They would leave the multitude of the heathen and go further into a further country, where never mankind dwelt, that they might keep their statutes where they never kept their own in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow places of the river, for the Most High then shewed the signs of them and held still flood, so they would pass over. For through the country land was a greater way, namely of the year and a half. And the same region is called Azareth. That word Azareth, just like I said earlier, that pertains to a faraway land or unknown land. And if you look into this word Azareth, you go into etymology, this Azareth word really means the Americas, or lost land. Then they dwelt there into the latter time. Now they shall begin come, and the highest shall stay, and the spring and streams away, that they might go through, and thus are the multitude with peace. So again, Simeon was one of the leaders that led the lost 10 tribes away from the heathen. When Judah and the southern tribe, they was getting attacked, he was one of the tribes that said, hey, we're going to have an idea. We're going to get out of this. We're going to get away, and we're going to figure out where we're going to worship. We're going to find our land somewhere else. So that's where you get this divide and you get this separation. And I'll let you, and Brother Darren is going to go into the tribe of Zebulon, which is the Central American Indians, which we will go from Guatemala to Panama. And I just want to tap into this a little bit before he goes there. The habitation of Zebulon's border is both the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, making up of haven ships, because they were known to making the ships. They were known for sea travel. Like many tribes of the Central America and the Caribbean islands, majority of the Zebulon have succumbed to the Roman Catholic Church belief. Just like I said it started with Simeon. So in the Simeon, they got introduced, in Levi, they got introduced to the Roman Catholic. They started pushing it on the other brethren, the other kinsmen. So Zebulon, according to the Bible, will rejoice in his going out. When he examined of the land of Zebulon, he is surrounded by his brethren, the tribe of Israel. And then I'll let Brother Darren get further edification on that.
This is Genesis 49:13. Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. I'm going to go to Deuteronomy 28. All right, Deuteronomy 28. What am I reading? 21? 21 and 22. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. Yahweh shall smite thee with the consumption and with a fever and with inflammation and with extreme burning and with the sword and with blasting and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. So basically what that's touching on, I'll give an example, like the Aztecs, or most of them, when Hernando Cortez came through there, they brought a whole bunch of like smallpox, which was major back then, and a lot of these other things, and that's how majority of them died from like biological warfare, basically, compared to like being slain by the sword. A lot of them were very deceived, by other individuals. So that's what Deuteronomy 21 and 22 is touching on. Because you look through the history, whether it's Esau, Edom, or any other nation, they would lie to the Indians and Native Americans, befriend them and things like that, and then they would just do something deceitful, like give them a blanket with smallpox or something like that, and it would kill off a lot of their people. And before they know it, they'll be taken over. 25. Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So that had to do with all the tribes, to be honest. But a lot of people got to understand, when you're looking at these curses, you can't look at it from one standpoint. You got to use historical knowledge as well going into it. What's next, Gad?
1 second. I think it's me. I'm on, it's me. You're on Zebulon. I'm on the tribe of Ephraim. Now, the tribe of Ephraim and Messianian. Now, a lot of people don't understand is that it first started off with the tribe of Joseph. But Joseph was favored. He was very righteous. So his seed was blessed. So for his seed being very blessed, that he had 2 sons. So instead of him having 1 tribe, they made that 1 tribe into 2 tribes. So he was blessed to have 2 sons that would represent 2 tribes out of his bloodline. So both Ephraim and Messianian are both from the same. Both are from Joseph, but they both represent 2 tribes from Israel. So that's where people get that figure. They always figure out they see Joseph, but then they don't see the tribe of Joseph anymore. That's where you see that loss from. It's just they split it off right there to his 2 sons, and his 2 sons get the blessing. So I want to, and more edification, I want to jump to Genesis 41 and 50 to 52. And 50. And unto Joseph were born two sons before the years of the famine came, which Azaneth, the daughter of Phaterah, priest of Anaber, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God said he had Manasseh, for God said he had made forget all of my toil and all my father's house. And the second son he called Ephraim, for God had caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And to Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, which both ascended the daughter of Potiphera, the priest, on bare unto him. So again, that's edification, letting you know that these are the two sons of Joseph. So I'm gonna jump down to Genesis 49 and 22 through 26. So Joseph is fruitful and bald, even though a fruitful ball as well, whose branches are run overwhelmed over the wall. The archers that are sorely grieving at him and shot at him and hated him, but his bow abided in strength. The arms of his hands were made by strong hands of the mighty God of Jacob. Even by God of thy father, who shall help thee, by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with the blessing of heaven above, the blessing of the deep that lieth under the blessing of the breast of the womb. So basically, this is tapping on what I just said earlier. Like Joseph had blessing of his seed because he was favored, he was righteous. Because everybody knows the story of Joseph, where he was basically sold into slavery to his brothers because he was favored by his father Jacob. So because he was favored by his father Jacob, the Most High bestowed all these promises on him that his seed would be fruitful and that his seed would be prosper in their land. And I want 26. And the blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of the progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph and the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. So see, that's again, he has a separate blessing to be fruitful. And that's why you see those two tribes are very fruitful and prosperous, even in a very barren land today where they have no help or no subsidy from an American government that actually controls them. They still prosper and they still have their own way of life in their own country and they're still funding themselves. So that just lets you know that the Most High has been watching them and having a special covering, a special blessing of those people. And the last thing I want to touch on too is Deuteronomy 33 and 13. And Joseph, he said, is blessed of the Lord in his land, for his precious things of heaven, for the dew, and for the deep of the creatures beneath, and for the precious fruits bring forth by the sun, and his precious things put forth by the moon, and the chief things of the ancient mountains, and the precious things of the lasting hills, and for the precious things of the earth, the fullness thereof, and the good will of him that dwelt in the bush. Let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the top of his head, that him was separated from his brethren. His glory is like the firstling of his bullet, and his horns like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and that the 10,000 of Ephraim and the 10,000 of Manasseh. So basically, that's just letting you know again, confirming that the Most High was going to bless his children, because he knew that the blessing was going to be bestowed upon his children, because that was going to represent the two tribes from Joseph. And the next tribe we're going to, this will be Gad. And pretty much Gad is the tribe of the Native American Indians and the Canadian Indians. And I don't have to do touch a lot into this. If anybody know anything about, customs of Native Americans, that they customize, and we know that they wear fringes with the blue line. There's plenty of pictures and artifacts saying this, and I'll put pictures in my video. But I'll let Brother Darren tap into that furthermore.
This is Genesis 49 and 19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. So basically what he's telling about, Esau, Edom, and other nations have taken advantage of him and kicked him off his land and things like that. But the Most High is saying, at the end, at the last bit of it, he's going to overcome and regain his rightful land and things like that. But like Brother Paris was saying, he already touched on Ezra, and explaining the fringes, which is Numbers 15:38 through 40, which you can see. You can find many pictures of them wearing fringes and having a blue line under, on their garments. So I mean, it's not really much to say on that. We gave the input about what's to come, like his reward. And it's a lot of things you can find on the Native Americans. They were mixed upon, many of like Benjamin and Levi and things like that. We were intermingled, a lot of them. So
yeah, you go Leviticus 23. You talking about the smoke signals, how they attach into the tribe of Gad?
Oh yeah. All right. So Leviticus 23, 42 through 43. So ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your power.
So basically, that word booth in Hebrew is sukkah, or tabernacle, and basically this is like a wall structure that is a plant material, like palm trees or leaves, just like a hut you would see it today. That's what the word booth means. And so I wanted Darren to bring out that word because that's another way that that the tribe of Gad is from Israel, because that is a Hebrew Israelite custom to build your hut or your home or your tabernacle out of natural plant growth. And that was another custom they kept, and they've been keeping that for thousands of years. They never stopped. And then you're going to jump into Judges 20, and that's about the smoke signals.
About the who?
Smoke signals.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was confused on when I was reading. Right there.
Salaki.
So Judges 20, verses 38 through 40. Now there was an appointed time between the men of Israel and their liars in wait, that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city. And when the men of Israel retired in the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill of the men of Israel about 30 persons, for they said, surely they are smitten down before us as in the first battle. But when the flame began to rise up out of the city with a pillar of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them. So like he was just saying, is the smoke signals. It was a good one. I mean, we said a lot of Native Americans.
Yeah, we ain't got to tap too much. People pretty much already know that they are the true people of God. There ain't no denying that, man. God is the spirit of the earth, man. So another tribe that I want to tap into that a lot of people don't get a lot of background story on, and there's a couple of reasons why, and I will go into further detail about that, and that is the tribe of Reuben. And Reuben was Jacob's firstborn, and we already know the firstborn is normally the son that gets the the promises, or that gets the inheritance. But the reason why Judah got the inheritance and he's the leader and Reuben is not is because Reuben, the firstborn, did wrong. He did wrong by his father in his eyes. He slept with one of his handmaids, and because of this one error of this sin, that his blessing or his inheritance was taken away from him. And a lot of people don't really understand that, because the laws strictly prohibited that the mother and son, the interaction was very minute, especially between the handmaids, especially if it's not your mom. And another thing that's happened to that, if you look into the Aboriginal Australian traditions today, they have very strict laws between the mother and son that they are very prohibited to strict conversation. And another thing I want to tap into Genesis 49, 3-4. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength. and excelling of dignity, and excelling of power, unstable. The water shall not excel, because thou wentest thou up in thy father's bed, and defilest thou, and went up into my couch. So there again, he's like, he went into his father's bed and defiled it. And that's just talking about how he had slept with his father's handmaid, one of his father's wives. And for that, he would be cursed. And that's why that a lot of his people, Reuben people, were killed off, because it's very hard to find any Aboriginal Australians anymore, because that was one of the curses that would be brought on them, and that their seed and that their bloodline, a lot of them be brought back in through the other tribes. And then another tribe I want to jump to is the tribe of Naphtali, which would be
Naphtali.
Say it again, sir.
Naphtali.
Naphtali, which is would be so-called Hawaiians or New Zealand or the Fiji Islands. And another reason why we know this, because if you think about Hawaii or New Zealand or Fiji Islands, those are very exotic, peaceful, and very rich places. And that's what that tribe was known for. That's what they're known for. They're known for their flags, their exotic taste. They're living on these islands by the seas, which the word another translation that y'all can get is yam, which means seas. Which that is that's another way you can tap in to let you know that this is another tribe from the tribe of Israel, because they always like the water. They like to stay by the sea. They were good seafarer travelers. And so according to the Bible, the prophecy would inhabit the South Seas. And another, I want to Deuteronomy 33:23. Also identified as a people satisfied with favor. As you can see, the children of Naphtali are very beautiful people. Hawaiian culture is still continue with Hebrew customs. And you can look at that. I have a couple posts on, they had a leader that was called Kamehameha. And everybody know Kamehameha. That came from that leader. But now they translate that into Dragon Ball Z as to a type of karate move they use that has a lot of power. But Kamehameha was a powerful Hawaiian leader that upheld and kept Hebrew traditions, and still to this day, if you look up into Kamehameha history, he has the Hebrew Judah coat of arms. So his history goes back to Israelite Hebrew history, and that's just letting you know that, man, that these are the people. And I'll let Brother Darian, before he will go to the tribe of Asher, and the tribe of Asher would be your South American Indians, who would be Venezuela, Argentina, and Uruguay. And basically,
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so Asher, as we know today, they have a very oil-rich country, which is oil-rich. I mean, they would be the fat of the earth, which Argentina, Venezuela, those are very beautiful and very mineral-rich places where they have a lot of growth. They have a lot of crops. They have a lot of minerals that they can produce and make money off of. They're very blessed in that land. So I'll let Brother Darren get that verse.
Genesis 49:20. Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. You continue.
Yeah, so just like again, that's confirming what I just said. So they shall be fat. That fat means he shall be rich. He shall the fatness of the earth. So just like today, you go down that land, they have plenty of resources that Esau Edom is trying to get right now as we speak. So that is that you know that these are the people, and this is another tribe that the Most High is watching over very carefully. And the last tribe that we're going to go over is Issachar, which is the so-called Mexicans. And so a lot of people question this one, but a lot of people don't understand that the Mayans and that the Aztecs, a lot of their ideologies, a lot of their customs come from Moses. A lot of traditions they use, they come from the Torah of Moses. They just switched and perverted it after Moses left them. And a lot of people don't understand that if you look back at a very, very old map past 1400s, is that Mexico was actually named Moshe. Moshe is named after Moses. So that just lets you know that Mexicans, they always have had rich Hebrew Israelite customs. That a lot of people have not really did a lot of history or did a lot of research on this, because there's a lot of history down there, Hebrew Israelite customs, the Olmecs too. So I'll let Brother Darren get that verse.
Issachar. Genesis 49, 14 and 15. Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens, and he saw that rest was good and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. So basically, he's a hard worker. They always put like a lot of people don't understand is that he is the muscle of the group. They always work. You always make jokes about the Mexicans working hard and things like that, but it was just prophecy.
It's true.
So
it's nothing but fact.
Yeah, a lot of people understand that. Yeah, muscle, like that's just the muscle of the group. So how they say, the greatest among you will be the servant. So Issachar is really, they're all equal, but Issachar is just known as the muscle and the hard worker out of all the groups. So he's basically the servant because that's what he used as a tribute, like it said in 15.
And servant meaning helpful, meaning he's all. And if you look at just Mexican culture and period, they're very helpful and very open people because that's in their nature. The Most High put them that way. That's just their nature to help, to serve. So you got to think about this. After the Judah was enslaved and they were making money to build up America, who built up America to make these towers and all these buildings? Who was right there with us? Issachar. He was right there with us the whole time. So you got to understand that all these great structures that you see when you ride around America and all these cities and all these major cities like Atlanta, Las Vegas, and New York, all these structures were built by Issachar. You wonder, and you look at it and you see it's amazing. That's the hard work of Issachar, man. A lot of people, they want to talk about, well, they need to go back to their land and all this. This is their land. They built this land, man.
Exactly.
I mean, to be frank with you, you tell them to go back where? They standing around their home, bro, to be frank with you. You need to leave.
Well, before you close it, so just to give a definition, like the word Jew, that name was turned by the Romans, well, aka the Edomites. They couldn't tell the difference between Benjamin, Levi, and Zebulun. I mean, just like they do today. You know what I'm saying? They'll throw the N-word around, no matter if you're Native American, black and stuff like that. So the term Jew is really a derogative byword in a way, because they couldn't tell the difference. So they just grouped them together as the Jews. So if you ever had the Jews or the children of Israel, it's talking about the 12 tribes. So those are the true Jews. And a lot of people don't understand the background of that word. It's a byword. That's basically what it is. That's like when the Jewish like to call themselves Jews. It's just like they call themselves the N-word. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they use it as. I mean, they also use it as like, they came from the land of Judea, stuff like that. But Jew was basically a byword.
Exactly. Just another way to put Jakes down, man. It's just like that word Jakes, that derives from the word Jacob. So, I mean, that just lets you know. Hey. But I just want to close out by letting you know I have a very detailed PowerPoint that I will be uploading on YouTube. I'll upload a video, and I also have a link with the video. And this will go further into detail about the history and other books y'all can read or y'all can cite to look into to get more further proof that these are the people of the tribe. A lot of people, they like to dispute this history. They come and ask me questions. They're like, where the proof at? Where the proof at, man? So I laid it out pretty nice for y'all, man. I just hope y'all appreciate it. And last thing I want to say is Kahala, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua, Rakta Yahweh, Rakta Yahushua. And thank y'all, man. Appreciate it.
Shalom.